Can we finally stop collectivizing the blame? The New York Times just dropped this article talking about the secret police in Gaza, which should not be like news to anyone, but is still a bombshell nonetheless. I also think it points to a very important pivot we're about to see. It talks about the tactics they use to spy on and control everyday Palestinians, you know, like the KGB, the FSB, the Stasi, the Gestapo, basically every authoritarian regime in history. Some of the most famous of which, by the way, were in place under authoritarian leaders that were democratically elected. The full article is worth the read. It talks about a lot of the tactics like censorship, intimidation, surveillance, as well as the targets like people who attended protests or publicly criticized H. The targets also included journalists and people who were in contact with people who happen to live in Israel. Again, none of this should be surprising. I have long lost track of how many people have argued that the blame is collectivized, hinting, of course, that the punishment should be, making the argument that H was democratically elected 18 years ago, well before the majority of the population was born, let alone old enough to vote. And I'm sure I don't even have to say that these are not errant opinions. President Isaac Herzog even said there's an entire nation that is responsible. This is collectivized blame, okay? So can we finally stop with this shit? Please? Unfortunately, I don't believe that this is going to result in a genuine change in tune. Number one, because they're not surprised. I mean, are you surprised? I'm not surprised. Number two, because I believe this is actually a very calculated release. And this is the pivot I mentioned at the beginning. I'm pretty sure this is just the first step in the pivot to the narrative of this being a rescue mission. A rescue from an authoritarian regime they are at least partially responsible for being in power. Does this sound at all familiar to you? It's just a page straight out of the US handbook. Watch this very closely. They're positioning themselves to take total control of Gaza and sell it to you as a benevolent act. But there may be one very small silver lining here, and that is this. If you wholeheartedly support and agree with everything that Israel is doing right now, then you will no doubt support its pivot to the savior narrative. And if you agree with this savior narrative that they're about to roll out, then surely you agree that most Gazans are victims. But more importantly, you agree that most of them need help now. And you want to do your part to help people in need, right? Great. I'm still waiting to officially be assigned a family through Operation Pass the Hat, but in the meantime, I've included several families that you can help right now in my tree, which you know how to find. You see the evidence. So you want to be a hero? Be a hero. You want to deliver freedom to the masses? Help a family escape. Help a family get out of harm's way.